Hello and welcome to this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. On this program, we review the activities of Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa as he seeks to advance the interests of agriculture all across Guyana. This past week has been no exception. He has been out and about, meeting with residents in various parts of the country, seeking to hear firsthand from them some of the issues affecting them, and also to share with them the plans for agriculture development in Guyana and how Guyana is now more than ever depending on the efforts of our farmers to help us in the region's drive to realize a 25% reduction in the food import bill for CARICOM by the year 2025. Now, Guyana, with its vast expanse of arable lands, is being depended upon to provide the driving force behind the realization of this 25 by 2025. Our farmers are being provided with the necessary infrastructure all across the country. We're talking here drainage and irrigation, but more than that, the technical support that is necessary to ensure that the efforts of our farmers are successful. In meetings that he held during this past week, farmers expressed a desire for government's help in providing interventions in regard to land preparation. You know, some farmers have lots of lands, but are unable to clear those lands because, well, it's very expensive to hire a HIMAC to break down the big trees and to root out those stumps and to be able to begin the whole process of preparing land for cultivation. So this is one of the things the government has promised to look into. At a meeting yesterday in West Berbice, this was one of the issues raised, or a request raised by farmers in West Berbice, asking for government's help in land preparation. So they're getting help already with drainage and irrigation, but now they want some more help, this time in the area of land clearing, land prep, and so on. Government did this before for our coconut farmers. So this is just another area that government can step up and be able to help our farmers advance the whole cause of agriculture development in Guyana. This program is produced for television by Matrix Video Productions and Advertising based in East Berbice. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. We will be back after these messages.
The Ministry of Agriculture is advising farmers and others in possession of leases for state lands that under the laws governing leasing of state lands, no person who leases land from government is allowed to sublet those lands to a third party unless written permission is sought and given to the leasee for this to take place. Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa has noted that this is happening in the MMA scheme, with overseas-based holders of land leases charging farmers who rent from them as much as $30,000 an acre, and by extension driving up the cost of production. The Ministry of Agriculture is therefore requesting all farmers interested in accessing lands to do so through the MMA ADA and pay just $3,600 per acre for both land rental and DNI rates. In the meantime, the board of the MMA ADA is now doing an audit of lands leased to overseas-based persons with a view to reassigning those lands if the owners are found to be exploiting small farmers of Region 5. Through the 2023 budget allocations to the MMA, it is anticipated that approximately 20,000 acres of lands will become available to farmers by the second half of this year. A message from the Ministry of Agriculture.
The Ministry of Agriculture advises that persons desirous of importing animal products, such as meats, must first acquire a permit and/or no objection to do so from the Guyana Livestock Development Authority (GLDA). Prospective importers must fill out an application for import license form. This must be handed in to GLDA along with a quotation from the supplier of the products to be imported, as well as a certificate of origin of the commodity. Meat and meat products must be from approved countries, and in cases where this is not so, then that country must apply directly to the GLDA for a permission to export to Guyana. In this case, a risk assessment is then conducted by the GLDA in association with the Veterinary Public Health Unit of the Ministry of Health. At the time of the application to GLDA, the importer must also indicate his or her interest in this regard to the Veterinary Public Health Unit, which plays a critical role in determining whether the license to import will be granted or not. If the import is allowed, the importer is notified by the GLDA. A fee is payable before the permit is prepared and issued to the importer. It should be noted that meat or meat products imported without an import license will be seized and destroyed. For more information on this and other issues, contact the GLDA head office on 220-6556 or email glda1910@gmail.com. Visit our Facebook page and leave a comment.
The Ministry of Agriculture is warning members of the public that it is illegal to dump garbage of any kind near to or into drainage and irrigation waterways across the country. The NDIA, the agency tasked with the maintenance of drainage and irrigation in Guyana, has noted that there is an alarming increase in the incidence of garbage getting into DNI waterways and causing blockages in the first instance. But worse than that, the garbage that includes clothing, rotting carcasses, pieces of wood and metal gets past protective grills of the critical mobile and fixed pumps, resulting in damage to the pumps, which have to be taken out of service for repairs, placing communities at risk, especially during the rainy season. The Ministry of Agriculture notes that when this happens, millions have to be spent on repairs to the pumps and on clearing the canals of debris thrown there by irresponsible citizens. The ministry warns that rangers of the NDIA will be on the lookout for those engaging in this illegal practice. Persons caught will be made to face the full force of the law. A message from the NDIA Ministry of Agriculture. We begin this week's presentation by bringing you highlights of Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa's outreach to the East Coast community of Melanie Damashana and surrounding communities, where residents, most of them farmers, were given the opportunity to raise issues of concern to them. As a result of that interaction, the East Coast communities will soon benefit from improved drainage with the start of drainage works in several drains and canals in the communities. During our meeting, Minister Mustafa outlined for residents the scope of the scheduled drainage works. His visit to the community came on the heels of a visit by Vice President Dr. Bart Jagdeo, at which time he had outlined government's developmental plans for both the residential and farming communities along the East Coast corridor. During that meeting with the Vice President, the issue of poor drainage and irrigation in their communities had been raised, seeking urgent redress. As part of Minister Mustafa's follow-up visit to the community was a walkabout of the affected areas. Where it was observed that many residents have taken up occupation of the government's reserve, engaging in various income-generating activities for the most part. According to the Agriculture Minister, it is this encroachment that is posing problems for the ministry's excavators to execute excavation of the drainage channels.
Coming across Melanie, I saw there are a lot of encroachment on the reserve. As a result of that, our machine cannot get free access to desilt the canals. I have spoken to some of the residents, they agree. I have put some other plans in place where the machine will maneuver to go to different parts of the reserve so that we can clean those canals. The residents were very satisfied that they will cooperate with the machine and they will have this kind of drainage. But I will be back in the area because there are a number of farmers, both livestock and cash crop farmers, and they want a meeting with me, and also the Co-op Society wants to meet with Minister Hamilton. I am hoping that I will bring Minister Hamilton with me when I come back here. But as the VP would have promised the residents in this area that I will visit the area and start some excavation work, which we have started since about a few days back. But because of the impediment of the reserve, we are getting this kind of problem. So I hope that after today, we will not have this issue arise again, that we will have some drainage facility for the resident, but at the same time we'll do a comprehensive drainage plan for this area so that we can desilt all the canals.
Residents of Melanie and surrounding areas have welcomed the start of the drainage works and have also expressed the hope that with the clearing of the drainage channels, the current mosquito invasion will subside. On Wednesday, Minister Mustapha traveled to the West Bank Essequibo community of Salem, where he met with residents of that community, as well as those from surrounding communities. Again, the aim of the meeting was to listen to the concerns of the residents and also to bring them up to date on government's developmental agenda for agriculture in Guyana. During that meeting, Minister Mustapha told residents that while most of the works that were requested by them have been completed, additional works are planned to improve drainage and irrigation infrastructure in the communities. Minister Mustapha, however, noted that the needs of the residents of Salem and surrounding communities are the same as in other communities across the country, and as such, government must meet those needs in a structured manner, as all cannot be executed at the same time.
We in Guyana, we are producing 60% of the food that we are consuming. And thanks to you, the farmers, who have been cultivating the lands, you have been helping us to produce this food. But we have to increase production. And when you look at the budgetary allocation, in 2015, the last year that the PBP was in office, before it went out of office, the budgetary allocation in the agriculture sector was $18.5 billion. Today, when I became minister in 2020, it went down to 13.5 billion. Instead of going up, it went down. Today, the agriculture budget is $32 billion. More than 150% increase in budgetary allocation alone in the agriculture sector. 4% of our national budget is being expended in the agriculture sector. So you can see how important we place this activity, agriculture. But we can't do everything at the same time. We have to work together. We have to form that partnership. And I will ensure that whatever you are requesting, that we do it, and we do it in order of priority. Right? We can't do all 20 work or all 40 works, because we have to go also to other areas. And remember, we are coming close to the end of the year. This is the 8th month of the year already, the 8th month about to conclude. And then we are coming to close our budget. We are now preparing budget proposal for next year's budget. The REO will tell you that his region is doing that. The RHO will tell you that she is doing that from her sector. So they are now preparing proposal. So there are certain things that we can execute this year. I am not here to come and promise you all, yes, I will do it and leave you all and go on. You understand? I am not a person like that. We will work together to see what we can do. So when I leave here this afternoon, within 1 week, work must begin. That if I say that we will do something, we'll start it. And we'll work along with you all. So that's the way we have to work. And we have to prioritize the work that we want. We might have want 20 work to be done. 20 pieces of, 20 bridges need to be fixed. Or 20 dams have to be built. Or canals have to be excavated. Or you want your internal drain to be excavated. But we have to prioritize what is important. And we have to also say that community projects will be more important than individual projects, because it will give more people the benefit rather than one person. You all agree with me? Right. So that brings me to the point of some of the requests. Now, the comrade raised an issue about the shed for that little small wharf that you got here, right? So I will ask NDIA to build that for you all, right? So shortly, we will see work start on that wharf there. And people, officials from here will follow up with us. You have here the chairman. You have, where's Pandit? Pandit is around somewhere. I just walk with a lot of Pandit, you know. This man is a Pandit too. Where you there? All two Pandit gone. You got Dr. Erica Ford too. She just work. You got the REU. He's the chief executive officer of the region. So you got a number of persons. You got Noel. Every day Noel will send me a text. When you come in here? So Noel took a follow-up. So we'll start that shortly. but there are certain regulation rules. When I make this commitment now, the engineer got to do a little, what you call it, bill of quantity, how much it will cost. Then that has to go. You have to probably get quotation, or, well, this is a small tender. You will publish in the newspaper, but you have to get at least three quotation. That's the regulation. Then that might take a week or two, and then they will do an evaluation of it. It has to go to the tender board. The tender board got to award the contract, and then the contractor gets so much time to finish the contract. That's the procedure. You understand? So when I say here today, and you said that the minister come and make a commitment, and within 1 or 2 weeks you see what go on, you said the man come and fool we. This thing has certain regulation. You understand? You have to satisfy certain rules, right? So we'll do the shed. For the dam, we can't do an all-weather road now. What we will do, we'll put it in our next year's budget. A proposal to do a farm-to-market road here. Because I understand this area is producing a lot for us. Right? In the meantime, what we'll do, we'll grade and shape the dam so that you can have proper access. And the RU will start that exercise shortly. When will start it, RU?
We want to start from tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Right? The RU will start that activity.
The Agriculture Minister also responded to queries made in relation to a main access road and 2 bridges that will allow transport of farm produce to the market, pointing out that the engineers estimate for the construction of the road and 2 connecting bridges would cost around $600 million, a cost that would have to be accommodated in the 2024 national budget. Farmers of Salem and surrounding communities had also requested help with clearing and excavation of several internal drains in their communities, and for this the minister announced a $30 million intervention in this regard.
Now this brings me to the point of excavation. I have here in my hand a list of works that were executed. Individual works, farmers who we help to distill their drain, the internal drains. Right? So I need you all to submit to me, right, a list of farmers, other farmers, who need those type of works. Right? We'll try to help you, and we'll spend roughly about $30 million to do all the internal drains with farmers in this area here, so that you can have proper drainage to your farmland. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Right, so we'll start that, and that will happen, but we have to get the names first. We have to know the scope of work. Then the bill of quantity has to be done by this comrade, and it has to go to the tender board again for contractor. So that within 2 to 3 weeks, that process will happen. As early as possible, you have to submit the name. So the NDC will have to get these names of the farmers. You all agree with me, comrades? So those are the things we can do immediately.
Minister Mustafa also assured farmers of the West Bank Essequibo communities that his ministry, through the National Agriculture Research and Extension Institute, NARI, is providing technical and other support to farmers across the country, and one such area is in the expansion of existing seedling nurseries.
Going around this country, what we are doing now, we are trying to upgrade our nurseries. We have 11 nurseries around this country. Now the nurseries can't satisfy the demands for farmers. Sometimes farmers want certain plant, they can go there, they can't get it. So recently we have some money to upgrade these nurseries across the country. Where the nursery in Region 3? Port Dryne. So we'll upgrade that nursery, but we'll work with you also to see how we can help you to get free planting material. You understand? So that you can get those material from us. Right? The other thing what we are doing, we already engaged a company from India, the Terry Group. They are working now to build a tissue culture lab. The tissue culture, that will bring out millions of plants where we can satisfy the demands in our country. We are working with the Cubans to start back some work in horticulture and also to start honey production. You know, that's a very lucrative activity. So all those things we are working with. But right now, our produce is in demand in the Caribbean. But we have to also produce to satisfy the local demands. Sometimes you go in the market, you don't get local fruits, you get fruits coming from Brazil. We stop all the importation. So any fruits coming now, you see any foreign fruits coming, they're smuggling it into the country. We had complaint from our local farmers that the foreign produce, the foreign fruits coming in, and their fruits are not sold, and they sell cheaper than their fruits. So we hope that you all could produce. That is why we give you the kind of help that you need. We try as much as possible. Although this is the 8th month in the year, we are still trying to expend millions of dollars. We have to now cut on other areas. So whilst we get $30 million just tax I can spend here, we'll have to cut that some other programs from somewhere to find that $30 million. If this shed costs $1 million, I'm just saying hypothetically, $1 million, we got to find another $1 million to make this shed for you all. You understand? So those are the things we have to do. So running a country, you have to ensure that you run it, and when you run a country, you have to ensure you do development across this country. I can't come to here and spend all the money, and then when I go to Blackbush Polar, or I go to Crabwood Creek, or the other area, people row. You understand?
On Saturday, the Agriculture Minister and team traveled to the west coast of Berbice for 2 meetings with residents and farmers. Those meetings were held at Cotton Tree and at Bushlot Village. At Cotton Tree, residents commended the Agriculture Minister on the support they have been receiving from his ministry and from the government in general, but said there are still some issues with drainage and irrigation, damage to crops caused by animals, and the long-running problem of cattle rustling. The farmers have also requested help with the formation and regularization of farming groups, support for which was promised by Minister Mustafa. In his remarks, Minister Mustafa said that even as government deals with the day-to-day issues affecting agriculture in Guyana, it must also focus on the bigger picture and invest in mega projects that will position Guyana's agriculture sector to support not only itself in terms of food security, but an entire region.
You will see shortly in your region, region number 5, the Vice President would have already pronounced on it. They have already met a number of farmers who went down to the convention center, had a meeting with him. He had consulted with them, and now we are on the verge of building a hoop-like canal in region 5 so that the excessive water could drain directly into the Atlantic. You all remember the hoop-like canal that built on the hoop there, across there. When that canal was built, of course, under our government, many persons, especially the opposition at that time, said that that would be an vital fund. When we had the flood in 2021, all the entire country was affected except that part, Georgetown and that part on the East Coast was not affected. People didn't have any major flooding. So when we did the study, now we already have money to start the construction of at least the canals in Region 5 and Region 6. And very shortly you'll see work start in those areas. The technical people, they are trying to get all the scope together so that we can start these work. But these are mega projects, big projects. They will cost billions of dollars. And this shows our government commitment to the agriculture sector. Today we are an oil and gas producing country. And unlike the previous government, who had no vision in agriculture, we had lost our place in CARICOM. Since the formation of CARICOM, Guyana always lead in agriculture, but from 2015 to 2020, Guyana had lost its place to stock and lead in CARICOM agriculture. Our place was taken by St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We came back into government, and today our president is proudly leading this sector. And we have seen a revolution in the Caribbean. Today our technical officers are going to places like Trinidad and Tobago, going to places like Barbados, to help them to build their agriculture sector. So you could see our role, the role that Guyana is playing in terms of leading this process. In another month, by October, we'll have another agri-investment forum right here in Guyana, where all the Caribbean countries will come again, and we'll have different businesses to come and exhibit their product. And we'll have more investors coming into the country to see how they could invest.
The Agriculture Minister, in closing, said the PPP civic government is working to bring communities together, and so it is that the Ministry of Agriculture is encouraging the formation of farming groups that represent the interest of their community, wherever that may be, as it is only through a united front that a community can progress.
Number of groups that we have worked with to help them to have inputs, things like tools, so that the group can enjoy using, get these things to use, the benefit of these things. And we have been working with various groups across this country to give them these basic tools, things like small-scale farmers. Instead of parking and we get things like tiller, we just give you all, and we give it seeds, we give it planting material, we give it drugs, all these things we have been working with. And you, in Cotton Tree, can enjoy the benefit, enjoy these things too. But it's all you have to come together and work as a team. We don't want to work with individuals. We don't want to work with teams that are dividing communities. We want to bring people together. We want to work with you as a team so that we don't want to bring this unity in a community. So when we come to a community, every single person must be on board. We must bring everybody on board. We want to work with every single person. Whatever we give to the community, every single person must enjoy the benefit of it, not one person. That is what we will be doing. And I want to assure you, after we would have meet here today and I can listen to your concern, and we can come together, we can have a group that is representative of the community, then I will help you to get the basic tools. I promise you that you'll get all the tools that we have been given across this country, things like water pumps, tillers, and a number of other things. So I hope that you all are working together, you all are uniting together, and this community is a united community. We are not coming to divide people. We are not coming to empower one person to be the head of everybody. The same benefit everybody must enjoy. The same rights everyone must have. Right? That is the way we have been doing. And our party, the People's Progressive Party, you all know, we have been working with that, working to bring and unite communities.
At Bushlot, Minister Mustafa again expressed alarm at what he described as the blatant exploitation of poor farmers by overseas-based land leaseholders who are charging exorbitant rates for lands they are leasing for just $3,500 per acre annually.
The people who got leases for this land, they are being charged $3,500. But they're renting the land back to the poor farmers for $20,000, $30,000. So if we talk about bringing down the cost of production, as a government, if we say about bringing down the cost of production, we are doing all in our, what we can do. We put zero taxes, excise tax and fuel, so that can reach the farmers, the fuel price can drop. We not take any tax from fuel. We reduce freight costs, we drop the taxes and the freight costs so that things can come cheaper. During with the war in Russia and Ukraine and Russia, the Russian-Ukraine war, we see the escalation of prices for fertilizer. The government made $1 billion available so that farmers, we can give subsidies, give some fertilizer to farmers. So all these things we are doing to ensure that we give the farmers the kind of support so that you can produce. And then your own people where you want to go, and we see farmers running racing against other farmers. Somebody giving 20,000, somebody giving 15,000, somebody giving 25,000, just to get the land to plant. So I've instructed the board, I've instructed the MMA board that we have to review all those persons who get a large acreage of land and living overseas. We have to look at that. We have to get farmers who are producing in Guyana to get the land.
Community meetings with farmers and communities across the country will continue as part of efforts to consult with residents on their needs in order to include those in preparation of the budget estimates for 2024, a process that is already underway.
Well, that's all the time we have on this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. This program is produced for television by Matrix Video Productions and advertising based in East Berbice. I'm Christopher Holder. Until next time then, be good to yourselves and to each other.